Here's the answer.
Which hearing aid should I sell? Phonak, Starkey, Resound, Signia, Oticon. There's a lot of products out there. There's even Oticon and Widex. I don't have their brochures here. So how do we do it in my industry? Well, I guess it's Phonak. Hi, I'm Keith Howe, owner of Here's the Answer in the Dalles, Oregon. And today I'm going to talk about the different manufacturers out there and how us as professionals decide which hearing aids we should sell. There are 7 major hearing aid companies. We have Phonak, Resound, Starkey, Oticon, Signia, Unitron, and Widex. If you get any of those hearing aid companies, you're absolutely buying a high-end, good quality hearing aid company. But are they all the same? No, they're very much different. All those hearing aid companies have a very different mathematical algorithm trying to fix your hearing loss differently. Therefore, there are absolutely differences between these brands, and some simply outperform others. How are you, the consumer, supposed to know which brand is the best? Well, we're going to Google it, of course. Let's go do that. Which hearing aid company is best? Well, let's look. Well, Jabra is obviously the best because it's the first one up there, right? No, actually, Jabra is an over-the-counter hearing aid, and they simply pay the most money to come up first. Now we have a Forbes article. Let's click on Forbes. Wow, what do you know? Jabra is #1. Again, not a major manufacturer. Auden Hearing, yeah, again, not real. This is all nonsense. None of these are real hearing aid companies. Eargo. None of those are hearing aid companies. Not one. So nothing in the top 10 is one of those 7 companies I told you about. How would you as the consumer have any idea of that? How far down do we have to go? So let's check out good old Consumer Report. Best and worst hearing aid brands, right? Yeah, I get off there. Well, okay, now we're talking OTC, so that's good. At least they're classifying that as an OTC versus an actual hearing aid company. Do they have any? Nope, no hearing aid company came up there. Oh, I missed this one here. What are the best hearing aids in 2025? I'm sure it's going to be nothing but great OTCs. Oh, what do you know? Jabra Enhance OTC. Again, all these are cheap over-the-counter hearing aids, and this stuff is just paid for by these manufacturers. So this is what I really wanted to point out to you is you cannot research who makes the best hearing aid over the internet because all you get is paid for advertisements. As you can see from the Google results, it's impossible to make sense of this stuff. There is so much nonsense out there. Coming from the professional side, it's not much better because all of those companies tell me they make the best hearing aid. They don't. Some I get better results with than others. And I cannot constantly have every one of those hearing aid companies, and they all make anywhere from 3 to 5 products. I can't test those out on every single person that walks through my door. There's simply not enough time. So as professionals, what do? Well, we have multiple things we do. The first thing that most of us fall back on is which hearing aids do we learn when we were training? When I came into this business, Unitron was our primary company. We started to do Phonak in 2005, and to be very upfront, I've done almost all of my business with Phonak ever since. What is important to me is to be open-minded, and so I have checked different hearing aid companies throughout the year. What I personally do is I listen to my colleagues. I talk to them at events I go to find out what are you getting the best results with. And if I hear the same brand over and over, I'll order a couple of them and try them out on my patients. And at the end of the day, my patients determine what I sell in my practice. What do I sell the most of here right now? Oticon and Phonak are my favorite 2 companies to work with right now. Why are they my favorite? Because I get the best results from my patients with those 2 companies. At the end of the day, I really don't care which brand I sell. In the last year, I have worked with Starkey. They have been my primary company for custom products. I've done lots of Phonak, lots of Oticon, And then the new Resound Vivia came out this summer, and I've been trying that out a little bit too, trying to get that the mix with that one too. Now, what about Signia? What about Unitron? What about Widex? Again, there's only so many companies out there that I have time to work with. So I'm not honestly going to work with a lot of them unless I see my colleagues saying, yes, you've got to try out this brand because the results have been phenomenal. If I'm not seeing that, I'm not going to waste my time working with another hearing aid company. Is that a little bit biased? It is. And the reality of it is every single person in this field is biased to an extent. And we're biased because of the experiences we've had working with the hearing aid companies and the results we've had in the past with them. One of the things that some people in our industry don't like to talk about is some practices are actually owned by hearing aid companies. That can be a good thing, bad thing, depending on how you think. I personally don't like that because if I have to sell a certain brand's hearing aids, do I really have your best interest at heart, or am I simply meeting my contractual obligation? That's why I'm proudly privately owned, because I can sell you any product, whatever one you like. If you're like, I've done my research and this is the hearing aid for me, great, I'm happy to get it for you. But the most important thing, wherever you go, you want someone that's good at what they do. If a company has been like a Signia place for 20 years, you're probably better off getting a Signia hearing aid from them than getting an Oticon or a Phonak potentially, because that person is much better with that software. They have more parts for that product. That's just the nature of the industry. Again, if you bring a hearing aid you got somewhere else in here, I just had someone bring in a Widex hearing aid this last week. I've never fit a Widex hearing aid. I have 0 parts for that product, so unfortunately that person I couldn't really help because that's the one brand I didn't have parts for. I have parts for every other company here. There's nothing wrong with Widex again. I simply haven't felt the need to use them because I get really good results with other brands. In my industry, it's more about the person and their procedures, which in my industry, it's really more about the person, their skill set. Do they use real ear measurement, for example? That's the biggest part, their services they provide. You are buying that practice, that individual person when you buy a hearing aid. And that's what's going to determine how good your experience is. All of the brands are good. I do personally believe some brands are better than others, which is why I like to go with the Phonak and the Oticons right now. But when the next releases come out, I'm going to try the other brands because I want the best hearing aids. And it doesn't matter to me what name is on the label. If I get the best result for my patients, that's what I'm going to use. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video today.
Hearing aids for life, here's the answer.